Hi, this is Jonathan Rosenherr, the Jerusalem psychotherapist. This week's Torah and Psychology post for Parashat Vayikra, and indeed the whole of Sefer Vayikra, we start to get an insight into the avodah that was performed in the Mishkan. In this week's parsha in particular, we read about the range of kabbanos that were brought by Am Yisrael, and in each situation we read within the Pesukim, we read about Bnei Aaron, that the Bnei Aaron, the Kohanim, had this integral role in their duty of being able to provide this service in a way to the Bnei Yisrael, to offer the kabbanos to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And I'd like to focus a little bit more on the avodah of the Kohanim. There is an interesting Gemara in Tanis that discusses the possibility of Kohanim drinking wine and the problems with that, because we know there's an issa for a Kohen to do the avodah in the Mishkan, in the Beis Hamikdash, if they're drunk, if they've had wine, and therefore the Gemara discusses an interesting situation. It says that what would happen for Kohanim nowadays. As the Gemara discusses, the Kohanim were split up into different mishmarot, into different there was a rota, different groups of the Kohanim that would come in a particular day, and the Gemara says that because there is a possibility that Mashiach could come at any moment, there's different permutations, but it could be that a Kohen should never drink wine. If there's a possibility that the Mashiach could come at any moment, and therefore they would have to be ready to serve in the Beis Hamikdash at any given moment. So depending on the situation, the Gemara discusses different permutations, but there's a possibility in one of the situations that the Gemara discusses that a Kohen should never drink wine because of this possibility, this chashash, that Mashiach could come at any moment. I'd like to just develop this a little bit from a psychological perspective, because what we see here, in terms of how the Gemara presents, is there's a thought that a person might have that maybe Mashiach could come at any moment. And we see how that thought influences the Kohen, for example, that he could think the Mashiach might come at any moment. That will influence his behaviors as well, that he can't drink wine, and influence his emotions, that he is calm and he is ready and he is focused and he is actually in a wholly sort of connected state that creates this holistic sort of state that the Kohen will be at all times ready for the Mashiach, ready to serve the avodah in the Beis Hamikdash. If we develop this idea from a cognitive behavioral therapy perspective, this links in with the CBT cognitive triangle as a fundamental tool of CBT therapy. As we see how thoughts, behaviors, and emotions are all interrelated. In the case of the Kohen and the way the Gemara in Tanis presents, this is actually a positive way of looking at the cognitive CBT triangle. The constant thoughts of maybe Mashiach will come, and how that feeds into and creates this triangle of how thoughts and behaviors and emotions all are interrelated and influence each other. That the thoughts of the Mashiach coming, the behavior of refraining from wine, the emotions of being ready and being calm and being connected and connected to Kedusha as well, all creates this positive cognitive CBT triangle. In therapy, often what would happen is that a person has the thoughts and behaviors and emotions which interrelate and are connected and creates a negative cycle. So when the Gemara says chashash, the Gemara is saying this is a positive thought, a positive concern and worry of always thinking about that the Mashiach will come. In therapy, when we talk about chashash, it could be that a person always has a constant thought that something bad is going to happen, that they're not good enough, that they can't do something, they're not going to be successful in something. There's depressive thoughts, and these constant thoughts feed into the behaviors and how they act. They're disconnected from other people, perhaps. They feel anxious or depressed. That is a cognitive, a very standard, a standard sort of way of presenting the cognitive CBT triangle and how thoughts, emotions, and behaviors interrelate. What we can take out from this week's parsha, the avodah of the Kohanim and the Gemara and Tanis, is how we can use this triangle, and it can be used in a positive way to make sure that our thoughts, our constant thoughts that we have, are adaptive and they are beneficial for us. Thinking that Mashiach will always come ensures that the Kohen is behaving in the right way, that they are ready and they're in control and they are connected to the Kedusha. This I think is a very important message as well for us now, through the time that we're still going through with the war in Iran, with the thoughts that we have, whether it's depressive, anxious thoughts. We can try to see how we can adapt our thoughts to make them more positive, to make them more beneficial and helpful for us. That we should always have constant thoughts that in our mind that are helpful to us. If we can put in more helpful thoughts that can influence our behavior, influence our emotions, that creates a positive cycle. That we don't get caught up in a negative cycle of thoughts and emotions and behaviors that actually it actually increases the level of depression or the level of anxiety that we are feeling at the moment. And this hopefully will give us the ultimate message of support and strength that the Mashiach will come. The war will end very soon, and certainly the Mashiach will come very soon, especially in this month of Chodesh Shel Geula, Chodesh Nisan. I wish you Chodesh Tov, I wish you a good Shabbos, and keep well.